Hello, my name is Michaela Bauer, and this is the screencast for Assignment 6, Design Patterns for SER 315. The scenario I chose is the library system that handles different kinds of items and supports checking items out, returning items, tracking who borrowed them. I also implemented overdue and restrictions for patrons. I chose to use the strategy design pattern to help with this implementation because each item has different rules for how it operates with loaning out and for overdue fees. So the strategy pattern is useful because there are multiple ways to perform a behavior, and they are separated into their own classes instead of having it all in one big, huge, long if-else branch, which makes it really hard to figure out exactly what's going on, and it can be really easy to introduce bugs into that. Separating them out into different classes makes it a little bit easier to read, a little bit easier to debug. It is normally broken down into 3 parts. There is the strategy interface, which defines the behavior. There are the concrete classes, the concrete strategy classes, which implement that behavior, and they override it, and they define how it operates and is used for them specifically. And then there is the context class, which is the class that references the strategy pattern. The things that I focused on for my strategy was calculating the due date. Each of the items have a different amount of time they can be checked out, and the other strategy is overdue fee. They all also have different rules for how much each day overdue is charged. To the patron. You are currently looking at my UML design. You can see all of the classes here. The biggest thing about this is this connection between the library item and the borrowing strategy. The library item is that context class that I was talking about before. It stores a reference to the borrowing strategy you can see here on this line here. Borrowing strategy is the interface, and it is defining those 2 methods: calculate due date, calculate overdue fee. And then these down here, the book, DVD, textbook, magazine, audiobook, those are all of my concrete strategy classes. And each of them also inherit those 2 methods, and then I'll show you in the code, they do their own thing with it. And then over here you have the library item, and they have different kinds of items that you can borrow from the library. And then the only other one here is patron. This is just to represent the users of the library. Use is also something that implemented is if they are restricted or not. If they owe overdue fees, you can't borrow any more items out, which I will show in the code. So that should be all for the design here, and then they can go right into the code. So over here is the code. We are currently in the demo, which I will show at the very end. Let's see, let's do the interface, which is, let me just make this just a little bit bigger here for me. This is the borrowing strategy. So super simple. It's literally 3 lines of code. These are the 2 methods that we are going to implement in our strategy concrete classes. So I'll show you the book one. You can see that book implements borrowing strategy. It overrides those methods with its own information. So it takes this method. It says that the checkout date is the day plus 21. And so you can see that book up here, it says books can be borrowed for 21 days and have a 50 cents per day late fee. And then you have down here, you've calculated overdue fee, which is days late times 50 cents, because that's the late day fee. They're all very similar. I can show you the magazine as well. Magazines can be borrowed for 3 days and then have a 25-cent per day late fee. And you can see that it has changed those numbers in the methods. They're all very similar. I can quickly go through them. I think we did DVD and audiobook. So they're all a little bit different, all very, very similar though. Pretty much all doing the same thing, just a little bit to the left. Then the library item, which is this big guy right here. This is the abstract class parent class for all of the library items. It's got ID, title, if it's available, when it's due, who it was checked out by, and then this right here is the link to the borrowing strategy, which is chosen depending on what is being borrowed. So it correctly links the strategy to the item. Sorry, I just want to make sure I'm hitting all my notes here. Yeah, so yeah, I'm just going to walk you through this code. Just want to make sure there's nothing up there when you talk about it. Okay, so down here in checkout, we are seeing if the item is available, if the patron is allowed to borrow, like if they're not restricted. If those both are true, then we check it out. This is returning the item, checking to see if there is a fee. Usually borrow strategy is calculating the overdue fee based on the item that is being checked out or was checked out and being returned. You've got a bunch of setters and getters in case you need anything, and then there's the toString method down here. Yeah, so then these are just this is how it links it to the strategy method. So you can see that the audiobook inherits, things from the library item, and then as well sets the strategy to the audiobook strategy, the borrowing strategy to that one. And that's linked for each of these items. They automatically link to the correct borrowing rules, which is nice. All right, and then so now let's go ahead and walk through the demo here. You can see that I create a library, I add some patrons, create some library items, and then print out available items. I borrow some checkouts, I return some items, there's some overdue fees, I pay some fees, and then you can see how it works out. Yeah, so go ahead and play this. Alrighty. So you can see that it added library items. We have a book, a movie, magazine, audiobook. I was like, wait, that's 2 books. And then the textbook. You can see that I was successfully able to track out Dracula. Professor Jane was able to check out Gladiator. You can see that when the due dates are, and you can see that they were removed from the list of available items. Returned successfully, but I returned it later. I think I returned it, like a couple 6 days past overdue. So I owe $3. And so you can see here that on my patron information, I am currently restricted and I owe $3. I cannot check out any items at this time because I am trying to, hold on, where is it? So in here you can see, sorry, I'm trying to find the line. I'm trying to check out an audiobook while I'm currently restricted. So it is not just for the book that is overdue. It is everything. I cannot check anything out from the library until I pay my fees. Once I pay my fees, I now owe nothing. I'm no longer restricted. And then I can successfully check out the audiobook that I wanted to get in the first place with the new due date and everything. So to summarize, this is the library system that implements the strategy pattern to handle different borrowing and overdue fee rules for different item types. The borrowing strategy defines the common behavior, concrete strategies provide specific rules, and the library item correctly links those items and uses the correct one during checkout. Thank you for watching.